We're saying our pastoralists, our farmers should begin to form the primary cooperatives. We must then, through which they can receive inputs like all other cooperatives. They can also market their product. The source is known. And for our export, we really, at the moment, anybody can go in and start buying goats and buy camels and things like that. They are not licensed, they are not. We have people coming in with a tourism visa and buying our livestock and sometimes not paying our people. So it's going to be a game changer once we have the whole value chain. I met a friend just here in this expo who says they do the technology behind it. We want all our pastors, even if they're nomadic, who move between countries, to be registered. They have their card. If they move from this county to the other county, it shows which county they come from, what money is in their account. They can get water, they can get fodder. But the really most important one, which we want to push, every few years we lose millions of livestock, which is worth billions as a country. Then we spend a lot of money buying maize and food at NGOs, everybody, trying to, the people who love livestock, taking them food. If we put fodder for strategic purpose of the drought, no livestock dies, no cows or camels will die, there will be milk, there will be no malnourished children, there will be no, as you said, I worked with Oxfam. I've seen children malnourished dying because of that. Yet we have rivers, we have lakes, and you ask, there's a friend here from Egypt, from Ayuaiba. He says, you never hear because they produce fodder and the system is in place. So as a country, we'll make sure, inshallah, that we have a system where no livestock owners will die, and we have a clear system of selling locally, meat, and also abroad.
All right, we'll be coming to you later for you to tell us what practical proposals then you are proposing right now. But right now, Ken, there is the issue of, and allow me to say this, Ken is here not because he deals with meat, but because he's a very important player, or Reconcile is a very important player across the meat value chain. Remember, our theme is driving sustainable growth across the meat value chain. And Ken, you have led efforts as Reconcile to mediate rangeland conflicts before and empower local voices. Looking forward, I'll start by us looking forward. What policy or grassroots innovation will be most decisive in reducing land use tensions and making the value chain more inclusive?
Thanks, Ibrahim. I think, firstly, we need to understand, when we talk about rangelands, we understand how this contributes to livestock production. And there are different types of livestock production systems, but largely, for purposes of this, there is the field lot, practice, ranch, agro, and pastoral. And speaking about rangelands, we would want to look at largely the agro and the pastoral system and how they can contribute to this. Statistically, in a study by Strathmore University and Egerton, they cumulatively say that 88% of livestock come from both pastoral, the pure pastoralist, and agro-pastoralist, with around 34% coming from the pastoralist and the rest coming from, the agro-pastoralist, which is around 53%. And there is always tension when it comes to how this system operates, because it's what we describe as a collective system, which is largely communal system. And with that kind of system, the use, access, and management of these resources can always create conflict. And this is why people would want to characterize, dry lands or rangelands with conflict and other things. But there are other mechanisms which I think have also proven to be very useful. And these are systems that are very participatory. And when we speak about policy, of course, the national land policy is very clear by introducing and recognizing, a tenure regime that is communal. And of course, subsequently, we are having the Community Land Act. So for me, we are not supposed to be thinking about which new policy or which other new law, but I think we need to look at how do we ensure that we fast track and we accelerate the implementation of this. Firstly, the full operationalization of the national land policy, but then secondly is creating that enabler, which is now the actual implementation of the Community Land Act, which is then supposed to help in creating that tenure security for the pastoralists and within the rangelands.
Well, you make a lot of sense that indeed the policies we have are more than enough from what I'm picking. And what we need to do is enhance or effect this particular value chain. And let me go to Idle. Idle, you speak for the private sector, a sector that plays a critical role across this value chain. Let's start with these particular roles. For the audience, what roles do you see that the private sector, we already know what you're doing, but there are opportunities, always opportunities, to enhance this particular sector?
Thank you, Cruncher. Yeah, private sector plays a vital role in driving sustainability of livestock value chain or meat value chain by investing the production system, by investing the livestock infrastructure, including slaughterhouses, and also by investing the cold chain, which is very critical to preserve the livestock product. So private sector, if you look the value chain from the input supply aggregation, from the input supply production aggregation all the way to export, they do invest each and every component of the value chain. For example, at the production level, they do provide veterinary service. They do also provide feed and fodder. At aggregation, they do invest infrastructure like the aggregation points. At also processing, they do invest abattoirs and cold chains. So private sector, as far as they are making profit from this business, they will be in the business and also the business will be sustainable. So I do believe that private sector is a very critical entity when it comes to investment. So as African Union, we are now focusing to improve the investment of livestock sector, because statistically the livestock sector is underfinanced. Statistics shows that since 2015, over $500 million has been invested into agriculture, and only 10% of this, 500 million has been injected into livestock. So from there, you can understand how livestock is under financing. So at AU-IBA, we are encouraging the private sector to come in and invest through public-private partnership. And in this aspect, we are closely working with the member states and also private sector. So private sector is a very critical entity when it comes to sustainability of livestock value chain and also meat value chain.
My next question directly hits at the doorstep of the Honorable Elmi, Makoha, and you, Idle. And this is based on data. The KNBS's latest report shows that small and medium producers still face big gaps in access to quality feeds. The issue of quality feeds is very important. Makoha, you represent the State Department and also the Animal Production Society of Kenya. Please tell me, what are the priority interventions to boost productivity and ensure traceability? Because that's another thing. We want to export meat that is traceable. We want to have livestock whose history is traceable. What are the immediate priority interventions?
Thank you, Ibrahim. First of all, the challenges in the feed industry cuts across the country. We have a feed deficit of about 60%. So we can only produce the feeds that can feed up to 40% of the livestock that we have. Now, looking at that, it means that we need to move away from the normal way of doing things, and look at new way of doing things. So the first thing that needs to be done as of now is production of fodder through groups and cooperatives at village levels, so that we can conserve these feeds for use during the drought when we really need it. In addition to this, we need to have alternative feed sources, especially the protein sources that are usually critical and very expensive when it comes to feeding livestock. There are ways that some people have started doing production of protein sources using the black soldier fly. We can also look at how can we use the waste to produce the protein to be used in the livestock. That is the circular economy in that industry. In addition to that, we also need to look at making feed blocks that are highly concentrated nutrients that can be used for livestock, especially during the dry period when we seriously need it. Other forms is like production of the azolla feeds as a major protein source, so that we can supplement the normal feeds that we are having, and that way we can be able to bridge the gap that is already existing in the livestock industry. Thank you so much.
Mheshimiwa Elmi, the pastoral communities, and especially in the regions where I would call them the ASAL regions, are the people who are giving us the bulk of our livestock. But then again, they're the people who are facing the greatest challenges in terms of this livestock. I mean, they are exposed in every front, whether it's drought, whether it's floods. We keep seeing these people exposed. And that's why earlier I asked you, what immediate practical proposals, solutions would you recommend to just safeguard and ensure that this region, remember, livestock in the arid areas, like, which make actually 80% of the landmass in Kenya, creates employment for over 90% of the population there. So what immediate proposals would you suggest?
I think it's very basic. They have been left to their devices for a long time, and we are saying the technology is there, the level of education is there. Now let's have pastoralists as primary producers get organized. Livestock is the most profitable. I've said this in many forums. If you went to the best islands of ours, go to Nyeri, somebody with 3 acres is a very rich person. Get somebody in Chalbi Desert, which is the poorest land there, with only 30 goats and a donkey, and give them 300,000. Come after 3 years and see who will be rich. Give the farmer and tell him, improve your productivity and give this one that money to buy goats. I can assure you that guy will be. So they have 2 challenges. One is security and the other one is drought. The drought one, what plan do we have? After we've organized them into those groups, and hopefully every ward, we should have a national fodder bank for drought. So that livestock normally die the tail end of the drought, which is about the last 4 months. It should be available for the farmers to buy at an affordable price, just like NCPP. So they buy and make sure that the animals that would die, the animals who will not die, whichever drought, they are strong enough. Those ones are made sure they are saved. The milking animal, much earlier, you make sure they don't die because they have fodder. So no children will be going, as I said earlier, become malnourished. But way before that, we would like to have the rangeland rehabilitated. One of the things the Pastoral Parliamentary Group asked the President is to put a moratorium on creating settlements inside the rangelands, which has now destroyed our rangelands. So, and hopefully that will also happen. So once you have the rangeland rehabilitated, then the next thing is to have a feedlot. So the pastoralists can take, when they want to sell, they take it there for both, quarantine and making sure that they are okay. You can even trace them from there and fatten them for the market.
Okay.
And you have already bought. So if an investor wants to buy, he has a range of cooperatives. who will be producing for what the consumer wants. At the moment, the whole of my family are still nomadic family. They look after those animals. They use it as subsistence. They use it for, they sell when they have a need, and they grow the herd to try to survive the next drought. So once you've dealt with the drought, you will have excess animals that now needs to go to the markets, both locally and outside.
And outside the country. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on NTV already, as we had earlier indicated that we will be live, so you can tell friends and family and partners away from this particular place to tune to NTV. And if you are coming to KICC, watching this right now through NTV, remember the entry is free for the 4th edition of the Kenya Meat Expo. I want us to quickly rush through this conversation because we started quite late, and I would want you, Ken, and Idle to quickly respond to one or two issues. And Ken, projects in particular counties here in the country have shown actually that formalized community governance and secured grazing rights can improve both livestock and livestock productivity rather, and household incomes. Now the question is, how do we broaden this to get to each and every part of the country that needs to formalize such grazing?
Thank you. I think another question we needed to try and understand is why are we not there? Because there are things that facilitate this production system, and this is market infrastructure and the people. And these people depend on space, on the land, which they need to, make maximum use of in order for them to be productive in livestock and subsequently healthy meat. And as I said earlier, I think one thing that would be important to mention is that when Waziri Mohamed Elmi was the minister during Kibaki's regime, there's one thing that they did midwife, and that was the development of the Vision 2030 annexure, which Reconcile was part of. And what was this thing looking at? It was looking at how to customize this production system that is responsive to ASAL. And then subsequently now, when we are seeing the process of making use of mechanisms or frameworks which you call legalizing or registration of these lands, which ordinarily, initially, we were talking about group ranches in the south, and in the north, we were talking about conservancies. Of course, there is a distinction which we also need to draw, that while some of these might have been very successful, particularly ranches, but then we look at them and ask ourselves, how are they being managed? Because ranches contribute around 1%, but they have the biggest number of, livestock production in terms of health, quality, and so on and so forth. So making the bigger producers, which you mentioned, which is 80%, who are the pastoralists, is to ensure that rangelands is healthy. And in order to ensure that rangeland is healthy, is to ensure that we reduce on degradation. Secondly, we mitigate on issues and adapt and facilitate adaptation to climate change. And number three, which is also important, is to promote community-led initiatives that help in terms of planning and also in terms of, securing these rights that they require in order for them to be productive. So I think those are the things we need to look at the moment.
All right, and we are really running late on the program, and I want to engage Idle because you spoke only once, and my question right now is the challenges that the private sector is facing in achieving its full potential in the meat and livestock value chain. And then at APMD, how do you overcome these particular challenges?
Okay, private sector is facing several challenges. Number one is lack of in-depth knowledge about the sector. Number two is insufficient information on potential business opportunities. And also the issue of the enabling environment, the issue of the policy enforcement. So at ABDM, at African Pastoral Market Development Platform or project, we are closely working with the private sector through developing evidence-based business model. And Ibrahim, I believe that you will not invest in a business that you can't anticipate the return on investment. So same applies to private sector. They are looking for profit, so they are looking for reliable data on return on investment. Mm-hmm. Again, we are closely working with the member state and private sector. We are facilitating a public-private partnership. Mm-hmm. So we are trying to improve in that aspect. So we are looking the private sector to invest the livestock infrastructure, right, like the export zones, mm-hmm, and also like the feed itself. Mm-hmm. Again, we are improving the sector. We are also focusing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area implementation. That is AFCTA, and as you know, it's a very big market. It mm-hmm has 1.3 billion consumers. All right. It has also 3.8 billion GDP. So in July, we facilitated a policy dialogue. We brought Somalia, Ethiopia, Kenya to discuss, how to accelerate the AFCTA implementation, mm-hmm, and also to remove the tariff and non-tariff barrier. So overall, ABMD is focusing to improve the sector through private sector engagement, through data ecosystem and diffusion, and also enabling policy environment. Mm-hmm.
Well, there are lots of conversations that we are likely to have about this sector and the fate of the AFCT, Africa Continental Trade Agreement with the US. But we indicated that this particular conversation would run for 45 minutes. We started the program quite late. We have run right now for about 40 minutes. Gentlemen, I want to pass one last question, which I would request that we answer very, very briefly. And this question is on the way forward. What is the take-home for the ladies and gentlemen sitting here today from your particular organizations in enhancing this value chain? Let's maintain it. 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. The first recommendation for me would be putting systems or taking a systems-based approach where we strengthen the resilience of the communities, the producers. And secondly, let's problematize this conversation beyond national debate and regional debate, but let it be a global debate. Take advantage of processes like the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, which is going to be a critical thing next year declared by the UN. So lastly, for me, is to promote participatory rangelands management systems.
Thank you, Ken. The Honorable Elmi.